From the News Channel 8 studios, let's talk live with your hosts, Natasha Barrett and Doug McElway.
Are you looking to make a big change in your life?
Well, whether personal or professional, you need to make an educated decision. So what do you need to know? Find Your Courage, 12 Acts for Becoming Fearless in Work and in Life. It's a resource that gives insight into making big changes with a level head. The author, Margie Warrell, is here to talk about the essential issues you need to take on before you take this big leap. And this is a big leap anytime there's change involved.
Yeah.
And how do you even begin?
Well, I think, as human beings, we always find it difficult to go through change, even change for the better. And right now, obviously, there's a lot of people facing a lot of changes in their life with everything that's going on in the economy.
Yeah, people losing their jobs, not sure where they're going to go from here, maybe starting new careers. I mean, you talk about how to make the negative, make positives out of the negative in your life. And that's so much easier said than done.
Oh, absolutely. But, at the end of the day, it's not what happens to you, it's how you handle it. We can't always choose our circumstances, but we can choose how we respond to them. And I think right now there's a lot of people finding themselves in difficult situations, having to deal with challenges, whether it's job loss, job insecurity, how to pay the mortgage, you name it. Right now, a lot of Americans that are really struggling with anxiety and feeling fearful and not sure about what the future holds for them.
But even the present atmosphere, even if you've not lost your job, I think it's affected the workplace and people's attitudes in the sense that people are afraid, and so they're not going to take the risks that they might have taken prior to this situation. And they say, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Exactly.
That's right. But fear breeds fear. And when you're surrounded by people who are feeling anxious and, you spend a lot of time talking to people about, I'm not sure what the future holds, I'm not sure if we can take our vacation this year, we're going to button down the hatches a bit, I think it kind of tends to make everyone feel a bit more anxious. But as you say, we need to take risks. I mean, in life, it's important.
In your book, Find Your Courage, 12 Acts of Becoming Fearless at Work and in Life, you say one of the key things here is to speak freely, to speak your mind. But let me just
but be careful with that one. Doesn't mean open up the floodgates, right?
We live, we have the First Amendment in this country. You can speak your mind. But in the workplace, that's not necessarily true. I mean, workplaces in this country, and I'm sure in Australia, are fairly regimented places, and you can sabotage yourself if you speak a little too freely.
Absolutely. And there's a difference between, and I say it in my book, Chapter 7, there's a difference between speaking up and talking down to someone. And you also need to be really discerning about what you say and who you say it to and when you say it. I mean, the right conversation at the wrong time is the wrong conversation.
All about when and how you craft it, I think. The tone of your conversation and the words.
Yeah, and I think really it's really important not to go into a conversation with the intention to win it. I'm going to prove I'm right and you're wrong. Because if one person comes out the winner, the other person by default has to come out the loser.
And you're going in it on the wrong foot because you're going in to fight. Rather than resolve.
And I really think, get clear about what's your intention for the conversation. What's the higher intention you have? If it's about you winning or you proving someone else is wrong, then it's ultimately not going to really build trust. You're not going to grow your influence. But if you go in with the intention of trying to resolve the issue and also being willing to listen to what the other person's perspective is, that's crucial to getting a positive outcome.
Everybody wants to be heard, but it's the listening thing.
This goes hands in hand with that too, but you also are very big on sticking to your principles. It's important to be honest with yourself, to stick true to those feelings that you have deep inside. But that oftentimes is at odds with what the culture of, say, a corporation is.
Sure. The core of things is about having integrity. Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true." And I think sometimes being really honest with ourselves it's not always as easy as it sounds. What is the right thing for me to do? What's the right thing for me to say? And, when it comes to a corporation and that sort of environment where it's like, okay, this is what I really think, but I get that that's not politically expedient.
Or this is what the boss
expects. This could ruffle some feathers. But, in organizations, people really do appreciate knowing where someone stands on something. And, in any organization, everyone has a value, has an identity. And we value those people who speak up and put forward an opinion, even if that opinion might ruffle some feathers, it's not where everyone else is going. Because, when all you do is conform, all you have to offer is conformity. And you're not really bringing the value is when you're prepared to say, okay, actually I disagree with the direction we're heading, and I think we need to consider something else.
But I think people get in this rut, no matter what business you're in, no matter what office place, where you know what the boss expects, you know what he's going to say yes to. I'm just going to tote the party line so I don't ruffle any feathers, going back to the whole, I don't want to lose my job. I just want to keep things status quo, and if I'm doing right, you know, I'll keep on getting that paycheck.
Yeah. You know, there are people who take that line and they go, you know, the course of least resistance. But, you know, if you think about people who ultimately move up in organisations and get to the top, they're people who are prepared to speak up, and they do take risks. I mean, obviously we need to be careful in the risks we take, but not taking any risk is the biggest risk we can take.
I think owners, CEOs of companies oftentimes get very frustrated with being surrounded by yes men.
Absolutely,
or yes women.
That's exactly it.
Because they see that they're not getting real answers.
They're just kissing butts, so to speak.
And you know, people at senior levels get very sheltered. They know they're not getting fed really vital information. And you look back on some of, you know, think of some NASA disasters over the recent years. When they did a study afterwards and said what happened, what went wrong, they found that people lower down the organisation knew there were things that weren't right, and yet they were too afraid to speak up, and the information was filtered going up, and then we had some awfully tragic disasters happen because of that. So it's important to have a culture that people feel they can speak up.
Does there come a time where your personal feelings or your own integrity is at such odds with the organization you're in that you need to leave?
I think sometimes that's exactly what happens, and people do need to leave. And obviously, you know, you want to have an organisation that's principled, but yes, sometimes people find themselves in a situation where they know that if they actually do what they know is the right thing, that might end up, they're going to either be told to leave or they'll leave beforehand.
But finding the strength to do that, I think, and then picking up, that's a whole scary thing that breeds a lot of fear in people.
And that's a pretty extreme situation. Most of the time, it's not as dire as that. But I do think most people are rewarded when they stick to their principles and they do put issues on the table. And, you know, ultimately, I think if there's something you genuinely want to say, chances are there's someone who genuinely needs to hear it.
Well, thanks for these tips, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there probably going, I wish I could do this, I wish I could.
But you know what? As I say in my book, I think we all have a lot more courage inside of us than we often tap into. And I think it's really being willing to say, you know what, I need to do this because the price of, to me personally, if I don't, is too high.
You know, I'm going to leave this book on the newsroom desk, the assignment desk there.
I thought you were going to say I thought you were going to say on the boss's desk.
Well,
like,
maybe that's it.
He's going to think I did it and not you.
But we'll probably have a newsroom full of rebels if I do.
Fantastic. Great. Good to hear.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Name the book again, Find Your Courage. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
Still to come.